Okay, great. Glad you're all here. I'm gonna call our meeting to order this evening. Oh, I forgot my roll call sheet. I actually have to read all of your names. Kevin Brand. Here. Noah Evans is here. Adams Blanco. Here. Margaret Izzo. Here. Kelsey Lee is not here, I believe. Anna Roman. And then Terry Tim. Emily West. Yeah. Tim off here. Great. Thank you all for being here. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
Seconded.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, anyone opposed? And did we receive any citizen comments in writing?
They have to present them in public and I do not see anybody here.
No one is here, so we're good. For my report, I know that various groups have been active and so when we get to subcommittees, we'll hear more from that. And then Emily's going to share with us the presentation on the certified welcoming program for the commission discussion meeting, which is next Tuesday at 6:30 in this room. And I'd love it if some people can say that they can be here to get Emily's back. You know, show
And
support.
hold the toddler.
So we might be able to be here next Tuesday at 6:30. So Margaret can.
I'm out of town.
I actually should be able to be here.
Okay, that's great. That's great. I'm not able to be here. That would be great to, it's a big deal. So, and so you're gonna be your first time presenting.
I mean, I lecture in front of 350 students, so I feel, but this is a different game.
Not that big of a deal.
But it's also important to the commission to show like this is something
Yeah.
we're all excited about. Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to
Okay, so the exciting news is that every August, the commission reviews applications from students at the high school for the position of either junior commissioner or junior board member. And we did appoint 2 people to be junior commissioners. And for you guys, we had 2 very interested people. So I broke all the rules as I do so often and got us 2. So they are Phoebe McNeil and Nimit Asan, Aysan. And Nimit has very close relationships in the Turkish community. So I thought he was important to add to the group. Phoebe was not really a first choice, but I interviewed Phoebe and liked her and, you know, thought, well, she was very interested in this. And then when I saw Nimit, I'm like, 2, it's right, 2. Letters have gone out. When did they start?
They were supposed to start today.
Oh, well, okay. They're not here. They're not here. But
I think
they started
sophomore,
to-
juniors, seniors, what?
It doesn't say.
No, it doesn't say. I
Most of the
forgot.
applications are juniors and seniors.
Yeah,
So.
most of them are.
I had a student, one of my students at Pitt last year he went to Mount Lebanon High School and he was the junior commissioner.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
And I
know he
told
is.
him, I think I'm joining this board and he was like, oh, the municipality is great.
A cheerleader.
Rafi was.
Yeah.
he was fantastic.
Yeah, he's a really good student too.
It's cool. In updates, the social worker, I saw Chief Haberman today. The social worker is starting in the next maybe week, something like that, week or 2. Close.
We're still wrapping up the background.
Oh,
phase, so-
you made it sound as if this was done and,
It's close to done, so
Okay.
he's not wrong, but
all right, I was a little premature on that, sorry. Many of us have a list of people to refer to her, so. Like, hurry up, get on board.
I have like just a random question about this. Should I hold it to the after the meeting or about the
You can
commission?
ask.
Okay. I've read the article in the news, in the Mount Lebanon magazine, and, the way I read it, it's like, if they have like a call where a social worker would be helpful, the social worker doesn't go with the police. Is there?
It's
was
a
there specific
follow-up.
Reason, is there
Safety.
training, or was it a?
Safety. Safety. We have to make sure the scene is secure, and that everything is all right before we send an unarmed civilian in. I'm sorry to have to say it that way, but I'll give you an example of a time where it would have been, could have been a problem. There's a woman who lives a few streets away from me who has a fairly significant mental health issue. A lot of people called about her many times. And one day she threatened the neighbor that lives right behind her and said, I have a gun and I'm going to kill you. And of course, he called the police. So it was just, listen to me, it was just a mental health breakdown. And I don't know that she had a gun, but that's a perfect example of where we can't, do that because something could happen. So it's a follow-up position.
Which they can choose to either use or not use, correct?
Yeah. You can't force people to take advantage of services. Laura and I both attended a meeting today for the South Hills Memorial Day Parade. This is something that's been around for, good Lord, 90 years. 90 years, I know, right? Can you imagine? And many of the people that have been running it are getting quite old and quite tired, and they need volunteers. So what I'm asking of you all is, if you know people who would be interested in doing something like this, helping with the parade, or if you know any veterans that might be interested, that would be a tremendous help. Laura's going to put out a call, but it always helps when people in the community ask their friends, hey, could you do this? Will you help out with it? It's not a very big, it's a big deal. It's a cool parade, and it goes from Brookline, right, all the way in the city through Dormont to Mount Lebanon. But when I was listening to what you had to do as a volunteer, it was not a huge lift. That's the way I would put it.
So I have a member of my staff who's ordained person, but also he's also a Army Reserve chaplain.
Fabulous. Yeah,
He would
he would
say
be
yes.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great, thank you. And one other thing, one of the biggest complaints we get time and time again at the township are building inspections and the inspection department and permitting. And, having worked in that realm for almost all of my career, I don't find it terribly hard to understand, but that's because I did it for 30 years. For the average Joe on the street, what has to be done and why it has to be done can be confusing. It can feel more like a punishment than that we're really trying to help people. So the inspection department, which is top notch, is going every first Wednesday of every month from 2 to 5. If you have a project that you'd like to do, you can call ahead on Friday. And on Wednesday, you have an appointment with an inspector right here, and they'll go through it with you, what you need, what the expectations are for inspections, all of those things. So I think that's great. I was really proud that it wasn't our suggestion. They said, no, this is the way we're going to try to handle this. So, pass that around, because that's a big one.
In my basement, so that's great.
Why are you doing that? Yeah, just beware, because my experience is that oftentimes the inspection departments are like the whipping boys, and I don't mean boys literally, but you'll hear, I had a great one. I was out campaigning and this man said to me, I've got a sagging basement ceiling. I'm thinking, oh Lord, pardon me. I'm just starting to have a panic attack. And he says, and I can't get my permit approved. My contractor can't get it approved. And I said, I'll get back to you. I showed up at his house the next morning and said, your contractor has not filed for a permit. That's what's going on.
Wow.
Yeah, so that kind of thing, and I'm not trying to slam
Yeah.
contractors, but I'm just saying that kind of thing does happen, so.
In my experience, they're very thorough. but that's okay, that's good.
Very thorough.
They take the time that they say they're gonna take, which, you know, maybe it's longer than people want, but that, you know, I'm okay with that. But yeah, they're very thorough.
That's it for me.
Thank you.
Sure. You're welcome. Yeah, any questions? Anything I forgot? Any burning issues? Nothing. You guys are easy tonight.
I think Ann covered it. The only thing I would add to that is that the inspections department's gonna have new software that's gonna be going online for the
Yes.
public called Municity, where you'll actually be able to log in and see the status of it. And if they're waiting on paperwork from you, you'll be able to see that. So sometimes they're waiting for a survey and the communication just got lost, and where you'll be able to log in and see that. So that will help.
You hold your contractor accountable.
Yes. you
Well, and the
can.
homeowner is also, the property owner is ultimately responsible for the permit.
Yeah.
So you can't even really blame your contractor. It's really supposed to be you doing it.
Anyway, yeah.
So.
But yeah, I mean, that's gonna be great. I think we needed to shine a light on it. You know, I used to work with architects, and so they all came flooding and complaining to me, and you know, you gotta fire this guy. And I said, well, one, I don't fire people. That's not, that isn't in my job description. And two, I would never fire somebody just based on this group's word. You'd have to have some kind of proof, and this will open it all up so that they can defend themselves, because they do a really good job. They do. That word Pitt.
For the social services coordinator, she will be starting soon this month, and there will be a period of training. My understanding is she'll go through something similar to the Citizens Police Academy. Yeah,
That's cool.
so
Yeah.
there may be some time before you see her out in the community, but
Hopefully not too long, because we have a list.
Subcommittees, Terry, I know. We have several things.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
again, just to celebrate the
Yeah.
social service
Yeah.
coordinator, that's been a project that's been in process for a long time. It's a huge move for our community. And Chief Aberman has done a great job of working that process. So it's exciting. See that come to fruition. Also, in Mount Lebanon Magazine, there was a great article about some of the new hires in the police department. Some added diversity to female officers with amazing backgrounds. Our police department are filled with people with all sorts of experience in different spaces in policing, and other spaces. I think two of the new hires both have master's degrees, MBA, exercise physiology, lots of diversity that they bring to our community, which is a great asset. So that's fantastic. We have a meeting scheduled with Chief Haberman for faith leaders that will happen in November, on November 12th. And looking forward to spending some time with Chief on that day. And then also in the works is another coffee with a cop. And we're looking at doing that over at Coffee Tree on Beverly Road. Our last two have been here in Uptown Coffee and Orbis, so it'll be good to get on the other side of Mount Lebanon, open up the space there. And so I'm working with the police department on coordinating the details on that. So that's kind of where we are.
Do we have a date range for that?
I think October.
Okay.
I think next month. I'm waiting for some dates. We'll firm that up.
And that's a great thing for us to all attend.
Yes.
When we have the date, and just dropping in and, you know, talking with cops, but also sort of showing our presence to the community as they're in conversation about police, so.
Definitely make sure you leave room for the public. Last time I walked in and all the police were occupied and there was like members of the public, I'm like, go ahead, just nudge your way in there, so.
They're really interesting. Some people have, they know the event is happening and they come with intentionality. Other people just coming off the street and they engage in conversation. Members of our police department are really good interacting with the public that are there. So it's a fun morning and informative.
Thanks for that work. Okay, mediations.
Yeah, there's been, some activity, but I feel like, hopefully with the last communication that we sent, that there was a clear message, but I really appreciate Ann helping, and that makes a difference. Get some other commissioners involved, but sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yes, and I have one that's been kind of coming and going for a couple years, but, you know, I feel as though both parties seem to like to check in with me, and that's fine. And one contact, but they haven't called me back, so I may follow up again, but. And that was an issue that I thought had maybe been resolved over a year ago and has come back, but it happens sometimes.
Mhm.
So then at least it's good, they know that they have a resource they can follow up with, so. And that's about it.
Thanks for that. Continued.
Oh, thank God. Talk about it. It's so valuable. You have no idea. Just is really, sometimes we have some very difficult situations, so.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Is that Adam?
Mhm.
Oh,
Welcome, Adam.
hey, Adam.
Yes, I was just lingering, listening, but I sorry I couldn't be there in person. Fatherly duties called.
Okay, DEI, we're gonna have the presentation in just a few minutes about certified welcoming, anything else? Community survey. I think we've submitted our.
Yeah, no updates from me unless
And then Residence Academy,
yeah, so that's so that is going to the planning for that's going to have to start getting underway. So I'm going to send emails out to everybody who was on the Residence Academy subcommittee, and so that we can start organizing the picking dates and scheduling out a little bit, and then after we kind of get some dates squared away, we can start reaching out to folks that we want to maintain the same kind of same people that we did last year, which I think probably makes sense, but we can talk about all that. So all that's to say, Residence Academy subcommittee folks, look out for an email in a couple weeks here that will kickstart that process. And just as a reminder to everybody to in the same way that it would like that it's that showing up for any of the things that we kind of do is always encourage for, it's going to make it a lot easier for everybody. And if people are able to attend one of the events for the one of the weeks of the Citizens Academy, just because it's a bit of a lift to get there, set it up, and kind of be the unofficial MC of the evening. So being we can walk you through it and stuff. It doesn't take that much, but doing it week after week for 8 straight weeks can be a little bit much. So spreading the love a little bit, and would love to have a few additional folks join whenever we do that. And Emily, I think you'll be excluded because it'll be in January or so it'll start. So so minus Emily, will everybody else can be if you're able to join, that'd be great.
Okay, so just a point of time, do you not want the application in the November magazine for the signups?
No, we can.
Okay, so I will need the dates though,
Yeah, well, last year we provided in September, right? So
the September meeting, which is
September meeting.
now.
Gotcha. We'll get to that very, very soon.
I thought the last time we all talked, it was gonna start the second Thursday in January, was that?
It's usually the first Thursday in January. If you want to start it at the second, the only thing sometimes that does is it starts to push it into spring sports for families. It's
The first Thursday is the 2nd of January.
Wow.
right. That's usually when it starts. And you expanded it to 9 weeks, which also changed but if you want to wait, then, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. Then your last one would be March 6th. Making sure that Valentine's Day is not in there, yes, because the group has found in the past that Valentine's Day is not highly attended.
So that would be starting it on November or January the 2nd?
That would be starting on the 9th.
The
Starting
9th.
Second, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then you're wrapped up by the end of February.
Do you have a preference, Adam?
I would think the 9th probably. I would I could be wrong, but I would assume that attendance on the second might be a little bit harder than because last year I think it was a little late, like a few days after that or so. So I would think the 9th would probably be the best day.
So it would start January the 9th and end on March the 6th?
Right.
Okay.
And then 6:30 to 8:30 is the time slot you have normally had.
Yeah, I think that time slot worked well, and I think we'll stick with the we'll stick with that with the idea of still front loading that to 6:30 to 8 as kind of being most of like the content, if you will, and then leaving a little bit of time for connection 8 to 8:30 if the presentations kind of allow for it. That didn't always happen last year because there was a lot of engagement and stuff, but I think having that as a plan is good.
All right, I'll get that sign up ready, and then we also have digital signups too. Karen has a waiting list from last year, so we approach them first, give them first preference, and then fill up. And then just the last thing is 30 slots is what you normally fill. The group has felt before that more than that, and then it becomes less agile to move, especially on the tours. And fewer than that doesn't, serve the number of people that would like to do it. So I just need to know what
30
number you feel comfortable with.
30 is good.
How big is the waiting list?
I think it's 3 or 4
Okay,
from
so
last year.
it's not like massive.
We've had as many as 9 and
And I think last year we had 30 people sign up. One person, I believe, could not make it. Like at the very beginning, we realized they couldn't make it, and then there was probably an average of 27, 28. Like there was 1 or 2 people that would miss in a given session, so it was generally pretty full.
And we send a bunch of reminders. We send one confirming that they're in, and then we send one right before the holidays, just to remind them of the start. We send the syllabus at that time so they can see it, so they can really look at it. And if they're gonna, look at it and go, yeah, not what I thought it was gonna be, they can bail at that point when we can grab somebody from the wait list before it starts. Because it's starting people in the middle. They used to do that if people stopped coming like second or third week, they pull people off the waiting list, but then they kind of lose the context of the budget is one of the
Right.
first ones, and so we stopped doing that. Good, perfect. That's all I need. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. And I'll still be sending an email though for the rest of the other stuff. So thanks, Laura.
Then community service award, we got some time before we need to launch that. Okay, so Emily's gonna do the presentation about the certified welcoming and so do you want comments at the end or about like the overall of the?
If you have questions
Yeah.
on what we're talking about at the time, I think that's better, yeah.
In my field, we would call it an econ format. They're really mean and they like to jump in and anticipate how wrong you're gonna be. Gosh, nice job.
Like half of political science departments are like, we don't follow the econ model, we're very gentle. And then like the half where I got my PhD are like, no, we follow the nasty model, so. Is there like a clicker or like
It's
a?
my computer.
Okay,
Oh.
I don't feel like,
Just say next slide.
Yeah, just say next slide. We're kind of.
I feel like that's like
this.
those transparency things, next thing. Okay, next thing. Okay, so we'll start by just talking about what Welcoming America as an organization is, to give a little bit of context. So it's a nonprofit, it's nonpartisan, and it has, the generic mission of building communities that have a welcoming aspect to immigrants to them. So next slide. Do I have to do this at the presentation for the commission, or can I?
No, you'll have your own.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, good. So yeah, they have like different sort of buckets of ways that they help build communities to be welcoming towards immigrants. The next slide, I think, does a better job of talking about the fact that they bring together networks of local governments and nonprofits to sort of do this work together. So they sort of serve as a nexus for communication between different entities that can further the mission. Next one. Okay, so that's a little bit about what the organization is. It's a nonprofit, and it has this Hallmark certified welcoming certification, and that's what we're after. So there are, I forget how many, and I took the map out. There are 5 of the,
4 or 5 stars?
no, the buckets, yeah, we're going for the first star designation, which I'll get to. I can't remember how many other like municipalities and cities have it, but Pittsburgh, the city of Pittsburgh is certified welcoming. So we have, and Dormont, yes. Lancaster, I remember, because they have a video. Maybe I'll put the map back in, because I liked the map. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, it ranges from very small municipalities all the way to bigger cities that have this designation. We could go to the next slide, we'll get into, you know, what motivated us as a community engagement board to propose this and look further into it. So first of all, it was part of the strategic plan that the ad hoc DEI committee put together in 2020. And that's where we found it and sort of picked up the thread. So it was recommendation 4 says foster opportunities for the municipality and community groups to undertake efforts that contribute to municipal goals for making Mount Lebanon increasingly neighborly, welcoming, and inclusive. And then Kevin pointed out, this is great, that 30% of respondents listed diversity, equity, and inclusion as an important priority as part of the survey. So it seems like there should be a good amount of support within the community for something like this. Next slide. How much does it cost? If we're you know, just to get in our foot in the door, I think we would go with the general membership. So part of what Welcoming America as a nonprofit does is it like fosters this network of municipalities and nonprofits. And so to sort of get your foot in the door and join the baseline membership of that networking community, it's $500 for a municipality of our size. There are other like more expensive subscriptions to this network, but I think we're just going for the foot in the door one. And so I think that my take on it, because Kevin and I have both reached out to the organization and not gotten word back. I think I emailed them 2 weeks ago, so I think we've waited and they're not getting back to us. But it seems to me like maybe this initial like sort of subscription membership part, you know, becoming part of the network, it sounds like it gets you like phone coaching and answers to basic questions, which I'll get to in a second when I address like sort of my understanding of what you have to do, the process to become certified. Next slide. Oh, these are the other subscription benefits to the general membership and other types of memberships. Okay, oh yeah, here's the list. So City of Pittsburgh is on there. City of Philadelphia is on there and Lancaster is on there. So, and Dormont, I didn't know, which is great. Next one. So this is a quote that Kevin found that is really great. It's after the City of Pittsburgh became certified welcoming, their special initiatives manager for their Office of Equity says, first, I think the achievement of becoming a certified welcoming city was truly a recognition of the work that community partners put in. We got to this point together, and this is how you can see if people feel like they belong by being able to accomplish something like this together. The City of Pittsburgh and community partners know that this isn't a one-off accomplishment or a box that is checked. The work is ongoing, and our community partnerships and commitment will continue to carry forward. So it certainly is like, you know, it's a designation, it's a certification, it is a box that we will be able to check, but there are then like other levels. So you can go up to level 5. So I think it's worthwhile to start the initiative and then keep the ball rolling. So the process, as I understand it, and without any questions answered, is, you know, there's like an initial application, which is on a subsequent slide with just like basic information. It's a form, it'll take less than 5 minutes. And you have to pay the $500 to become part of the welcoming network. From there, there's multiple steps in the process, but it seems like from there, the big lift would be as a board, we would be putting together sort of our narrative around why we meet the different criteria, which we'll go through. And then there's sort of like a revision process. So next slide. The logistics, like I said, filling out this initial thing will take, it's, no effort really at all. Well, it's $500, so we have to ask for $500. The next one. Okay, so from there, we will complete this self-assessment, which again, we can go through the criteria as they're listed on the website. And I hope that once we join the network, we'll be able to flesh those out. But it sounds like a narrative about how our community already meets these criteria. So for example, I know we had talked last meeting about the fact that the library actually already has like all these activities and meetings for, actually, I think my husband, when we first moved here, was interested in going, and we didn't go just because we have a kid, but they have like meetings for you're new to Mount Lebanon, and in particular, you're, not from this country, you're an immigrant. So I think those kinds of things will be really helpful in fleshing out this narrative. And I actually put together just like a Google spreadsheet. I don't know if that's like helpful for us to collaborate. But I can imagine that each of us has our own like brainstorming ideas about how we already do this. So if we could start to flesh that out, that might help. And then, sorry, I'll go through. So you submit that narrative, then the certification team, I think like, $500 seems like not that expensive, given that they're actually going to give us some of their time now. So they're going to read that, they're going to review it, they'll give us, comments and suggestions for, there's a bit of a back and forth revision process. And then we get the certification. We could talk about what we can do with the certification in a minute. Valid for 4 years. That's a good point. Thanks, Kevin. So these are the buckets, the 7 buckets of like categories for what the criteria are. And then on the next slide, there's, this is the detail that they give you on the website. And again, I hope, I would imagine we'll get further detail once we become part of the network. So the civic engagement part says programs support immigrants in obtaining US citizenship. That would be like actual municipality programming plus like, any library programming that might help as like a workshop for getting together paperwork. That process, if nobody's familiar with it, is quite onerous. A lot of people, we spent thousands of dollars on a lawyer. So connected communities, there's a bunch of these, but this is like local, the first one is like, again, I don't know what their documentation process is for this. I'm sure they don't want to see all of like our tweets or any kind of outward facing comments, but we should never have said anything discouraging immigration in a public facing way is an example there. Economic development, any kind of programs that support immigrant job seekers in finding and obtaining employment. And then the other one is like growing a business as an immigrant to the community. And then the next one has the rest of them. So education, I think these are really important and like probably easy to ask about across our schools. And I know we have like, is the title a liaison from the high school? So we'll have to get him involved in that. Equitable access to like basic public benefits and resources, government and community leadership. The local government has a process in place to ensure regular communication with immigrants. Public libraries implement an immigrant inclusion strategy. We already talked about doing that one, right? So there's gonna be a process by which we have to collect information about how we do this. And then from there, I've asked but not received word back what the like evidence needs to look like when we compile it.
We know that doormat is a welcoming committee. Maybe we could get their application.
I don't know. I found it when I was looking, I just looked very quickly at the welcoming,
The list.
the list, and that's where I saw Dormont.
I may know even.
Oh, yeah, we know people. You know, we do. We know those guys.
I knew you would say that, but I was trying to, yeah.
So this is where I thought,
Oh, yeah.
I don't,
Then we could see if we can get a copy of their application, and we can see how much detail it is.
is it kosher to use like a Google spreadsheet to collaborate and get ideas?
We have Microsoft, but yeah,
Okay.
that's what your SharePoint is for, so.
So we use
So it would
SharePoint
be an
thinking-
Excel. Mhm.
Yeah, so I just thought like a sort of a hive mind
Yeah.
place to put ideas, even if somebody gets like, you know, an email address to email from Dormont, we could put it there and then we could sort of collect that
We
information.
can create a welcoming community folder within the DEI folder that's on your SharePoint.
Okay.
And then anything you need, any supporting documentation, spreadsheets.
Yeah,
whatever you want.
perfect. Yeah, okay. Okay, the law enforcement is the last piece of this. There are things under safe communities that have to do with law enforcement and how they interact with immigrants. I think, you know, the key one is that they don't have policies in place where the primary purpose is to detain or deport. Okay, next one. So the timeline, unfortunately, we found out sort of like by the skin of our teeth. It was like right after our last meeting, the deadline to become a member of the network. And so it seems like we actually now have enough time, I won't say too much time, enough time to present this to the commission, get support hopefully for the $500 and join the network. And then they have these like, what we missed was like a workshop, a virtual workshop where we could ask questions and get more information about these things that we've even not gotten responses to, which is why I kind of feel like once you pay, then you get access to that. So the next opportunity seems like the fall of 2025.
Emily, just one thing that just we have to make clear to the whole commission is that there has to be somebody in the government who is like, has the lead conversation with them. It doesn't mean they have to do all the work, but they need like a government person, so they don't want like some non-government people to do this outside the government, so they have to have a lead. So they're gonna have to be somebody involved in that position, like, you know, somebody key staff or whatever, but something like that.
Yeah.
And well, we could do all the legwork.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Right,
we will put it together, but somebody has to be okay with presenting it as the municipality's application, yeah. Okay, great. And then, you know, the tweet or the quote from the Office of Diversity Liaison when the city of Pittsburgh got the designation said it's not just a box. And I don't think we're thinking of it that way. But that said, it's always nice to be able to tell your community and advertise, right? So like doing it is great, but then I would hope that we would want to advertise that we had done it. And so one thing that I found is there is the organization has a designated welcoming week. It was September 13th to the 22nd. And so, you know, around that time, if we get the designation, it would be the following year because we're going to apply in the fall of 2025. We could sort of like earmark that as something that the municipality could put some thought into programming around.
And Dormont did that last year. Their
Did they?
welcoming week, there's a proclamation, there's a whole
Yeah.
thing on their website about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's like activities, I think different communities do different things, but we could look into what might fit our scheduling and like we like to have fun events, so I thought this was good. Question that I might not have the answers to.
Yeah, you did a great job. It was excellent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm imagining, just given some of our commissioners, that there's gonna be questions about the why, like why do we
Why
need
are
to
we
do?
doing it?
Why do we need to do this? You know, if we've already done it, why do we need this? And I think that's gonna be.
Even if we can say that we do all these things, why do we need to have the certification? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, you know, in order to have a well-researched answer to that, I'd actually have to know how many of these things we would be able to say we do. I don't know. I guess like we could talk about that now or in the week's time that I have before I present it to them. It doesn't seem to me like we maybe can make a great case that we do all of this, like there may be revision on our part and thought that we'll go into like further programming along these specific lines. But I'm new to the government, the local government here, so I don't actually have a great detailed answer as to how we fulfill all these things.
Yeah, I think when I read that list, I see things we probably might have to beef up.
That's what I wanted to say, but I wanted to be
Yeah.
calm.
I don't see things
Judgments
that,
about-
I mean, I don't know, I mean, I guess it's possible we could come up with things, and say, we'll never be able to do that, but I don't think so, I think there are all things we can do. And so we'll probably grow as a community by doing those things, so we'll grow as a community. And look, I mean, not to be, I don't think it's a reach to say that being able to advertise that we're a welcoming community is good for us. It's good for our community. I mean, it's good for us. If you want to have more diversity, equity, and inclusion, and you say you're a welcoming community, maybe more people, diverse people will move into the community when they say you're a welcoming community. I mean, I think it's good for our sort of image.
Well, and it also shows our residents who have said this is important. This is showing the output of how we are showing them that we take it seriously as well.
Yeah. The question you need to ask them, and what I kind of read between the lines on the city of Pittsburgh thing, is that a lot of these things can be done by the community. So if it may not be possible, for example, to have the government work on helping people with visas and immigration, there may be a local nonprofit that serves our residents that would provide that. So that's kind of a crucial question, is who has to do all of these
I
things?
mean, the way I read it, I think that would be okay. Our answer would be yes.
Right.
Our government, if you ask, our government will point us to it and we'll put it in, I'm making this up, but we're gonna have this in our magazine twice a year and on our website that there's a nonprofit that does this.
So we have two for law firms in the city that are fairly well known for immigration, that if they are Mount Lebanon residents might be willing to do some pro bono. I mean, it's part of their, just throwing out there that the visa part is a heavy lift.
I mean, they're Jewish Community and Family Services, and that's their main focus, for pro bono immigration work. So would this basically, so for example, like on our website that we may have like a link to JCFS, I mean, is that some of this procedurally may work?
I would have to check and see if it's just a referral or if it's a website thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so then does anything stand out, for the two of you, or things that the community doesn't do to help answer this
I
question?
think it's too early. It's gonna take a lot of homework, and I mean, we'll put out information to us, the community, hey, here's a list. Does anybody know anybody? Exactly.
No, I mean, just to answer, I'm sorry, just the question that was posed previously, that, Emily was pointing out, well, she's new to the community and this governmental system, and she isn't quite sure of some of these criteria, what we do and don't do. So for the two of you, anything besides this immigration issue that stands out that we don't do?
I don't know. I mean, what is the best thing sometimes about these kinds of exercises is it's a great, you're checking off a list, but it really is a wonderful eye opener for the whole community about how much we do and how many people in the community are involved in this. So I think that's what I'm gonna look forward to, is seeing all the tentacles.
Well, like, for example, with immigrant businesses, we have Eric Milliron, and I don't know if he refers out to University of Pittsburgh and Duquesne Small Business Center for some of that stuff that may provide services, or whether it's something we physically have to do here. So that would be like a question of, does that count?
Yeah.
We rely a lot on what Dormont does, because
Yeah.
them being our neighbor,
Yeah.
we could learn a lot from them. So-
Right.
Yeah, and many of the community service providers are, sort of doing,
Exactly.
first ring South Hills.
Yeah.
So Anne, when this goes to the commission, is it good for them to have like a hard copy in front of them?
They will have one.
Okay.
We will. We'll already have it.
I mean, the other thing is, I don't wanna waste people's money, but it's $500.
It's $500, exactly.
If it turns out to be, a bust, we lost $500. you probably learn $500 worth of stuff along the way.
Mhm.
So you're not asking for, and we're gonna do most of the legwork. You're not asking for tons of people's time or a lot of money.
Mhm.
So
So from a presentation perspective, I would recommend on slide like 1 or 2, putting the why.
Sure.
Like, not getting into the nitty gritty of the criteria, but say, we are proposing to do this because it shows who we are as a community. We show it's a value, and we can say 30% of residents already said this is a value we want to demonstrate. It's a way of demonstrating the reach of our community groups, using Ann's, I don't know if you want to use tentacles, but like, whatever, coming up with a metaphor that says that, and says, we want to be able to do this publicly. Because this is something people talk about in our community all the time, whether Mount Lebanon is welcoming or diverse or not, it's a way of saying, this is who we are.
Yeah. I like the idea of, it's a focal point, so it's a valuable exercise, even if the end result is they don't have any feedback and we already do all these things, and it's a way of like bringing together information about where these resources are, we've reviewed them, maybe we fine tune them, right, like.
But it could also be highlighted in the magazine, right?
Right.
These are the things that we,
Yeah,
in doing this application, we reviewed all of this and
yeah,
wow, look at what we're doing.
And here are the places where we don't have people and we need volunteers.
Yeah.
And there could maybe be a separate section on the website where some of this would be consolidated perhaps. Okay, is there anything that you want us to research or look into more? That relates to what Mount Lebanon is already doing?
I think, I have to say that I think storytelling is always very powerful. We had an incident with a student, I'm gonna be very, broad about it. With a student who was part of an asylum seeking family. And this child couldn't participate in sports because they did not have health insurance. Contrary to what you're hearing through advertisements, it is not true that asylum seekers get health insurance. They don't. And it was very difficult to try to peel back how to go and where to go to get this child some help, who's very innocent in this and was very upset about it. It was clear that it was a point of pride to them that they could do this sport so well, and they were not able to do it without insurance, because that is a PWA, whatever the
Yeah.
thank you, PIAA requirement. So any stories, just one or two that sort of show that it's not, we don't have a central place where we can grab a lot of information quickly.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a staff person that's doing it, but that would be a great help, I think. And I think it's something that's gonna increase. I think we're gonna get more and more immigrants and asylum seekers, and I don't think anyone wants to see them not having the help that they need. And yet it's not, if you don't, have never been exposed to it, it isn't easy to figure out what you're supposed to do. It's kind of like a big black hole.
So for example, if we touch base with our school board liaison, might he have some stories that could
Absolutely.
illuminate this? Okay.
Yeah, just one or two, just to say, here's one of the reasons we're doing this. We really feel that, knowing what's out there, it would be hugely important for all the people that tangentially get drawn into it sometimes that are clueless. Because I
And
was
then so
clueless.
for all of, between people who, are employed by the school district, and, and all these different webs of our community, there might be one-stop shopping in terms of where we can
Sure.
get some consolidated resources.
Yeah, where they can at least start to find out, from here you go to this person or whatever. Yeah, I think it'd be very helpful.
But it's also saying that this is a community that values it, values diversity, values welcoming, and it's a safe place to ask questions
Yes.
to get
Yes,
resources.
exactly.
Because I think because it's a certification where it's a public facing way of saying, this is a place that will support you in your process.
This is one of our values.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what builds strong communities.
I mean, not that I would say this in a meeting, but like, we apply and get those awards for our schools, like you're a gold winner, I don't know what they're called. but I've
Blue
seen-
ribbons.
Yeah.
Blue ribbon school, why do we do
Yeah.
that if we're already blue ribbon school, why do we have to apply for it? Because
Yeah.
you want to tell people that we're a blue ribbon school, this is a similar thing, we're telling people we're welcoming.
We don't want Dormont to be more well.
Maybe that should be the first slide, Dormont has this and we don't.
Any questions?
That should be just the line.
I was thinking about it.
And Peters Township has applaud.
Yeah, exactly. That would cinch it right there. Boom.
And if you've contacted Dormont, do
Yeah.
you wanna talk to them, or do you want one of us to
No, I'll
talk to
call,
them?
I'll
Okay.
call the mayor. He and I sit on some committees together. I'll call him and ask him. See if he knows. Or doesn't know. Great,
Well, thank you.
Thanks, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so.
Kevin did like, and the slides that you liked were Kevin's.
You're being retired.
Now, time, right?
Any other business for us? Laura and Terry, can we just huddle about this, inviting people to this police faith leaders meeting afterwards? Great, all right, October 1st is our next meeting, so.
On a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday and you will likely be in room D. I'll have it on the agenda, not like you're not gonna figure it out, but because we're pushing back to Tuesday, there'll be two board meetings going on at the same time, so.
So we're moving up in the world, we have that big room.
Not
It's
really.
a smaller room, but I think the other group tends to draw a crowd.
Okay,
I will be late and I will have a toddler.
that's great. Toddlers welcome.
Also noting Noah, just in case you aren't able to make that, I'm definitely not able to be there for that one, so just letting you know that in advance.
We'll move some things around to try to get there.
You'll get your regular nag from.
Yeah.
Before, so.
I'll be here. All right, well, I adjourn this meeting, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.